Hi, Connor.
Hi, Trenton.
How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Welcome. You have to ask how I am.
Oh, I'm not going to.
Why?
Because
I'm stellar. There was a reason not to. You were right in your assumption.
Dear everyone that has not met Trenton, if he tells you to say something, don't say it. It's leading to a terrible joke.
Dear everyone that just heard that comment, I'll say it anyway.
Yeah.
How are you? What did we watch today?
I am much worse.
Yeah. Starting off on a good note.
How do you feel about space?
Boy, if I could, space is my passion. You know, like those reckless abandoned things. Everyone has like one reckless abandoned thing that if like society and like the world that they lived in didn't necessarily constrain them to the place that they should probably also be, that they would just pursue with abandon. That's
Golden Age of piracy.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I would be a pirate.
It is space for me. It is absolutely gorgeous. Almost any time I see a starscape, I'm on the verge of tears. It's so beautiful. And yeah, if there's ever commercial astronauts, I will likely do whatever I need to train to be one on the off chance that I can go into space at some point. Ugh, I love space so much.
I've got to be completely honest with you. I am not a huge fan of space.
My wife is also not a huge fan of space. So
I did not know that.
No, she she's very cool with being ground control. She likes the Earth. She is very much in the camp of one of the people in this movie who's like, I can't believe that there's so little between me and absolute nothingness. That's exhilarating to me.
For me, it's not that. It's... Okay, space is gorgeous from a distance. But I cannot fathom the amount of nothing that's there. And honestly... I'm not too excited about a whole lot of nothing.
I'm not too. That's a good point. It isn't necessarily very exciting.
Yeah.
Like the probability that if you randomly teleported anywhere in the universe that you would hit matter is 0.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
There's not a chance. Like, it doesn't matter how far out you take it.
Yeah.
The fact that we live here on a bundle of matter is obscene.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I need warmth and life in my exploration for it to be worth it.
You take it with you. Read The Expanse. You did it.
I've only read the first book of The Expanse. I'll
I don't
read
think
the others.
we actually told them what movie we watched.
Yeah, that's because we're talking about space right now. And
Yeah,
Trenton
but we
loves
can't
space.
talk about space because then this will be a space podcast. Because I won't stop talking about space. There is nothing more cool than space. Nothing.
All right. Well, today we watched Interstellar.
We watched Interstellar. It is just an absolutely wonderful movie. I'm going to be very biased in this review, so I'm glad that you're with me.
I will also be relatively biased.
Okay.
Just in the other direction.
Good. Hopefully can.
I've got to be completely honest, and this will probably spoil some of my rating here. This is my least favorite Christopher Nolan movie.
Wow.
Like, not by a small margin. I still think it's
Dark Knight. So
I still think it's a great movie.
Dark Knight's
You
one
have
of his favorites.
You have transgressed. You could have transgressed more, but you didn't know that.
No, I didn't. I haven't seen whatever that one is yet.
You haven't seen Memento.
Oh, nope, not yet.
Yeah. That said, this is a great film.
Yeah, it is.
I think it definitely deserves to be on the list. I just would put it much, much lower.
Yeah, like where?
This would hang around my 200s, probably.
In the 200s?
Yeah. Maybe even a little lower than that. Not much, but
still on the list. That makes sense. So, I mean, it's better than 12 Angry Men. So, I'm fine with it being a 20. Not everyone just gets as insanely psyched about space as I do. And I'm sure there's things in the story and stuff that we're going to be talking about here shortly that cripple it a little bit. But
for me, it really does come down to the third act. Like the first 2 acts of this, I love.
That is a good point. I can't wait to talk about that part.
But that is definitely behind the spoiler wall. So.
I see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Okay.
We skipped over recommendations.
Oh, anyone that likes space, for sure.
Yeah.
You're absolutely in the camp.
I would say if somehow you have made it to this point in your life, having not seen either this or 2001: A Space Odyssey, and you want to watch both of them and compare, it's a great...
I haven't seen one of those.
Yeah. You'll like 2001.
Good. I'm excited. I've heard that I'll like 2001.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, there are a lot of similarities. Also a lot of similarities to... Have you seen Signs?
Yes.
Okay. Felt like there were a lot of similarities to Signs as like this being sort of the inverse of it.
Yeah.
It's very strange. And again, I feel like this should be behind the spoiler wall.
Yeah.
But
so also anyone that likes just absolutely gorgeous soundtracks that make you just string you along the entire time.
I don't care if you have no interest in this movie whatsoever. Yes. You should listen to the soundtrack. Zimmer outdid himself. Isolated as well. Because if you've only seen the movie and you haven't listened to the soundtrack by itself, you're missing out on... I honestly think it's the best piece of orchestra that has happened in the last 100 years.
It's so good.
It is. It's like, incredible.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. If you like epic story, if you liked Star Wars, you'll like this.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, it's a little harder. I'm going to say it anyway.
If you like classic sci-fi, you'll like this.
Yeah, very much if you like classic sci-fi.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
Not classic sci-fi movies, because those were mostly schlock, but more classic sci-fi novels.
Yeah. And if you
Asimov's, Clark's,
if you have a science bent, there are some things that I can point out, which I will here in a second, that do not hit science correctly, but they're few and far between. This is a very pretty movie.
Yeah.
And it's anyway.
All right, we got to throw the spoiler wall
out.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, let's do this. So ratings. Gotta do ratings.
Okay. Enjoyment for me. I would say through most of the movie, we're sitting at about 8.5.
Okay, I was giving you 7 in my brain.
Toward the end of the movie, it brings it down to like a 6.5, 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like it takes a pretty significant drop there for me in the last 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think I can fault you for that.
Yeah.
How about technical?
Technical. This is a 10 technical.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Like there are, if you really, really, really want to nitpick, there are some very slight things that you can pick out, but like they're so minimal. Like this is a masterpiece as far as technical goes.
Yeah, I completely agree. So enjoyment for me, I do like, especially the first time I watched it, I was like, I loved it up to this point. Right now, tonight, I'm at a solid 9 for enjoyment, and then absolutely a 10 for technical. There's quote unquote nothing wrong with this movie.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the only thing that I can even like pick out is the scene when they're making contact, like in the ship in the wormhole. It looks a little weird with like
look a little weird. It looks. Have you seen The Abyss?
I have not.
Okay, there's some water creatures in that look a little like that.
Yeah, but that was like 1980s.
Exactly.
Late 70s, early 80s?
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's like one of the big like movies for, hey, this is kind of what CG
could
do at the time.
Did a pretty good job. I really liked it. I'll have to watch that sometime.
So, yeah.
I think this is Spoiler Bay.
Yeah. So,
do the things.
Dislike us, unsubscribe, and turn off any notifications.
I would really prefer if you did the opposite of those. So hopefully all the rebels out there just liked, subscribed, and commented. And the rest of you, if you could also like, subscribe, and comment, that would be awesome. This is a beautiful movie. And we've been doing it for a year now. So if you like us, let us know. And if you don't like us, let us know why.
Yeah. Well, if you don't like us, don't let us know why. Just tell us you don't like us, and please.
I kind of. Well, okay. I just want.
Please leave me alone.
I won't show Connor the emails. He can send them to me. SittingRailsPod@gmail.com.
All right. Summary of this movie.
Oh my gosh, I forgot that exists.
Hold on. Cooper goes into space to save humanity, while his daughter tries to save humanity on Earth. They end up teaming up through a black hole that transcends space and time because love. And also, humans advanced really far, but we don't see any of that.
Super far. Because we can't. I agree with this.
Yeah.
We will find agreement in this. So the world is a plague. Everything is plagued for some reason. We can't figure it out. So we have to go to space because space doesn't have plague. Because space is nothing.
Sorry.
Oh,
I actually don't have a problem with the plague stuff. Because blight is stuff that has kind of been a problem in crops in the past.
Yeah, but every single piece of crop.
Yes, but the way that they explain it in this is that basically it's a single blight that keeps adapting to consume new crops once there's no more of the old crop to go through.
Yeah, which means it has no energy.
Anyway, it's breathing up the nitrogen in the air.
Going back to my summary.
Okay.
The good old plague can't go to space. Makes sense. Space is nothing, as Connor has said. So they go to space to escape the plague and also hopefully find some cool planets. And they forget about relativity for a little bit, and then they remember it, and that's how they were saved.
Matt Damon's a baked potato as well.
Matt Damon is a baked potato, absolutely, and then a very, very cold potato and hot. I really want to know about the heat from that black hole. I really want to know about it.
So, about black holes.
About black holes. You want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if the sun in our solar system just became a black hole, our orbits wouldn't change, but we would freeze to death. Always very nice. One of the most the most effective way of converting matter to energy in the known understanding of the universe is the accretion disk of a black hole because of the friction and the tidal forces off of
Which Kip Thorne discovered because of working on this movie. Sorry, he's a rock star.
and which is just so cool. This one, as I think some people may have already known, and you will also know, made just absolutely astounding breakthroughs in the modeling of black holes because we had to.
Right,
Christopher Nolan was like, here, have some money, research institutions. And they're like, I've never had money before. And they did some fantastic stuff.
A lot of it was directly through Kip Thorne, who was the main consultant on this film. So cool. Is like, he's the one who was like, yeah, I fed all this data through a computer and went, that's not right. And then I looked at it closer and went, wait a second, that is right. How is that right?
At this point, we hadn't actually gotten, if I remember correctly, any quote-unquote photographic evidence of black holes. We didn't know necessarily that you could see the accretion disk of the other side from this side of the black hole. We didn't necessarily know because we hadn't know for sure. Obviously, all the theories point to that's what's going to happen because light bends around it and it makes sense.
Yeah.
But only recently, in the last few years, have we actually gotten radio images of a black hole and its accretion disk coming up over the top of it, which is so cool.
I just remembered all of the memes that came out right after we got that first picture of the black hole.
Yes. Wait, which one was it?
There were a lot of memes. So it was the first picture that we got of the black hole. It was I don't know, 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
But the memes were great.
No, they were fantastic. I can't remember all of them, but they were so good. Black holes are the product generally, and this is actually a weird one. There's a lot of different ways that we think black holes formed. We've never seen one form. So leading theories are at a certain
collapsing star, correct?
Yes, collapsing star. At a certain point, stars start fusing iron, which actually takes more energy than it gives out, and so the star collapses in on itself. Based on from its own gravity, and that's what a supernova is. Depending on the star's size, it'll either collapse into a neutron star, which is a very, very cool star. Please look it up, or a black hole. However, that doesn't explain supermassive black holes like the ones at the center of most galaxies. We are not entirely sure exactly how those formed, except for there's some ideas in that maybe some of these supermassive black holes were formed from a normal star, except for it's not powered by fusion, it's powered by a black hole. Like, its energy and its mass was so intense near the beginning of the formation of the universe that it was able to sustain a black hole inside of it while still burning. And so the black
That's
hole,
wild.
it's so cool. The black hole fed on this absolutely humongous star for years and years and years until it finally finished it.
Would it be possible that it consumed the energy from stars that it pulled in to its own
Absolutely.
gravitational pull?
Yeah, absolutely that as well.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Cool.
No. And so there's a lot of theories on like how they can work, but we're not entirely sure why the really, really big ones exist yet, which is so cool. Gravitational waves cannot go across time. We recently measured the gravitational waves go at the speed of light.
Have we ever gone into a black hole and found a little girl's bedroom that was created by future humans?
Not to my understanding. That is not something that I have understood. There are suspicions of like what's beyond the event horizon, and actually the like friendly black hole is a thing. There are some
gentle.
Yeah. So first of all, spinning black holes suck a lot more. Like they are much more intense, have much higher tidal forces and other really crazy things than just stationary black holes.
That makes sense.
And we're not entirely sure what's on the other side, obviously. Some people are like, it's just lots of fire. Some people are like, nah, the gravitational forces are just nothing. And so it's nothing until you hit the singularity.
Yeah.
And there's been some recent research that's been done that can show, not necessarily that you can get information out of a black hole, but certain types of spinning black holes emit different kinds of radiation whenever you feed them something different, which is better than the only thing we get so far from black holes, which is Hawking radiation. And that's how black holes die, is eventually, on random chance, atoms will get really, really close to the event horizon and then quantum tunnel, and two of them are like split in half, actually. One of them goes back into the black hole and one of them goes out. And eventually they radiate everything away. But eventually is a very long amount, past the heat death of the universe.
That's wild.
Anyway, that was your science lesson for today. I'm going to have so many TikToks to make out of that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I really like space. If you want more space things, go to Kutzkazat. They're very good.
Oh, yeah. They're good for lots of not space things as well. But
they're good for all science.
Yeah. All right.
Initial reactions. I love this movie.
I love this movie, except for
the last.
Once he goes through the black hole, like everything up to that,
it's just so
I
good.
adore. And then, like, from just a spectacle perspective, I also love the Tesseract.
Yeah.
From a story perspective, it honestly
weaker.
it breaks my
Immersion.
It breaks my willful suspension of disbelief.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I really have a problem with the way that this movie does plant and payoff. I don't know how familiar you are with that
No, but
concept.
Let's keep going.
The idea is, are you familiar with Chekhov's gun?
Yes.
Okay.
If something exists in a scene, and you like remark on it, then it has to be used throughout somewhere in this work.
Right. And so the idea with this, sorry, I said plant and payoff, but what I really meant was promises and
delivery.
That works. I don't remember what the...
Yeah, I can remember what it is.
But
Promise
basically...
and payoff?
Yeah, promise and payoff. There we go. And I feel like this movie promises one thing and it doesn't pay off on that thing. And I realize that there's a reason that people are kind of split on this, is because it is a payoff.
Mm-hmm.
It just isn't the one that I felt I was promised.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this movie, again, for the first 2/3 of it, or even more of it, it comes across as a like hard sci-fi sort of story.
Yep.
Everything is very scientific in the way that it works and all of that, and I get that this is part of the theming as well. Like the point of it is that science can't tell us everything.
Yep.
That said,
You put so much work into the science.
you put so much work into the
So
science.
much, and it feels like it
And your
undermines it at
audience
the
is
end.
putting
Yeah.
a lot of investment into the science.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you just say, nope, some future humans basically created this for us so that we could figure it out.
Continue living.
And it feels like almost a literal Deus Ex Machina. And I don't know. I find it very frustrating as someone watching the film, as a storyteller.
As I remember the first time watching this, where that came up, and just the physical feeling of disappointment that I had. Like, they did all of this so cool science stuff up to this point, and you end it with, like, even the Tesseract itself isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that, hey, it's this cool place that you can go and, like, interact with time in a physical way. Very cool. I think that the thing that, like, doesn't pay off for me is the fact that it's humans, or that it's insinuated that it's humans.
Yeah.
Like, keeping it mysterious, keeping it at this, it's just a thing we don't understand, feels more fulfilling.
Yeah. Well, and I think even the fact that the them throughout this turns out to be humans, right? Like, because from the beginning, we kind of get the idea, okay, there's somebody controlling things behind the scenes, and that's cool. And we're kind of curious what that is.
Exactly.
But to find out that it's just
us,
and not only that, but it's controlling things beyond, or like it's future humans controlling things behind the scenes from what are basically answer to the biggest problem that we've faced so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just feels so disappointing.
Yeah, no, it really. I do feel that as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Again, I think you're right that it absolutely does go kind of into the theming, and it goes into the, like, Cooper is right for the entire movie. Like, he starts out saying we weren't meant to stay on the ground. Like, this is a very pioneering movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what they were trying to get to is the pioneering pays off. Like, not only are we able to actually save the Earth from the blight that I hate, but we're able to, like, here's a glimpse at what humanity is able to accomplish later, further on into the future.
Right.
Which, like, is a cool story. Again, I don't know how I would have changed it necessarily to still get that across, but have a better payoff.
I wonder how much time we probably should have spent between Murphy figuring out the equation on Earth and sort of seeing some of the
consequences.
Yeah.
Like, positive consequences.
Yeah, the positive consequences of that. Like, because clearly innovation has continued.
Yep.
Past this, and, like, not just the space station being there, but like, you even see at the end, like, the ships have been updated, the suits have been updated. Like, they're definitely working with better technology than they had before. And I think seeing
the progression,
some of that progression,
because they already do kind
helpful.
of, like, weird flash stuff between the different times between Cooper and Murphy.
Yeah.
I feel like that could have absolutely been something that.
I think the concern there would have been, because they're trying to keep these two characters sort of parallel.
You wouldn't have anything for
you
Cooper
would have
to do.
nothing for Cooper.
Yeah.
For, like, at least 5 minutes.
10 minutes, yeah.
And I think that would be generous.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Completely.
So yeah, that's really my biggest gripe with this movie.
It has so much space in it that I pretty much forget my sadness about it. By this point, I'm like, oh, okay. I forgot this is just the disappointing part of this movie. But do you remember the science? Do you remember the black holes? Do you remember the very cool thrusters and the fact that every time that you're in space and see a spaceship, it's jerking around instead of, like, having nice fluid movements like you see in everything else, because that doesn't happen in space, because the, like, forces in space don't have any friction. There's no friction in space because there's nothing there. I love that. Like, you just see everything jerk really, really abruptly and wonderfully. It's so cool. The sound design in this was fantastic. You don't have sound until you have air,
Right, yeah.
which is just one of the coolest things. Like you
well,
can go.
sometimes you have a soundtrack.
That's true. You have soundtrack,
Or you
which
have,
is, or you don't have a soundtrack,
or you have an overdubbing
yes,
of somebody speaking on an intercom.
which is very nice. But you don't have ambient sound. You don't have
That's
alarms
true.
going off. You don't have all of the other like really really easy to miss things until you get air in there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, it's just so cool. And the contrast for light and shadow in space,
Oh yeah,
where like
they
they
did a
do
great job.
perfectly with one side is light, one side is dark. That is what you have in space. There's no ambient light. What are you talking about? There's nothing here.
I wonder how much of that is easier for someone that is working with film consistently to sort of understand, because I can just say from having worked in film, like you work with so many different types of lights trying to create different
Yeah.
effects that you do get really good at like, okay, if I do this, then it's going to look like this. And so like in order to grasp that, I don't think you need a whole lot of even
Physics
I don't
at
even
all.
think you don't need a whole lot of physics
Or science. Not very much.
because you'll kind of know as soon as someone's
Yeah.
like, this is how it works in space, you go, okay, I know exactly how that works.
Exactly. No, and it's beautiful. Everything in space, like they did such a good job of creating the effect of when you're in space, you're the smallest thing available.
Yeah.
Like there's not like you're on the cusp of death at all times, and it's
Unless
just so
there's
cool.
shrapnel flying through space, then you're fine.
Yeah, then you're fine. That is the primary downside of this movie is when there's shrapnel, it doesn't do anything, and that is not the truth.
I can write that off a little bit with this because we have already established that this is in the future, and so I give them some leeway of like, okay, they may have figured out some sort of technology to protect the ship from shrapnel. I don't know. It's a long
only
shot,
thing-
but I'm willing to give them that.
The only thing that I can potentially give in this is that everything was moving at very similar velocities, and so when things like the explosion happen on the Endurance, the amount of new extra energy really isn't that high. However, that falls a little bit because they slow down the escape shuttle before reaching the Endurance, which means that they're now no longer moving about the same speed. Anyway,
Yes.
so
Also, Dr. Mann
Dr. Mann.
never worked with machinery before or anything
No,
like
he
that,
was like-
apparently. It bothered me. As someone who works with things that, like, I'm a building engineer, I work with AC stuff all the time. It bothered me how many times he was just like, oh, safety thing telling me I can't do it? Override. Override.
Exactly.
It's like,
they have a nice button for it.
My-
What's your trust rating? Obviously lower than yours.
but this is basic machinery.
I
Like,
know.
like you don't have to be working with things all the time to go, okay, this is telling me. It tells him he has improper contact. He doesn't stop to question what that is.
Nope. He should know
He-
too.
Yeah. Like,
Also-
the word improper definitely should be a warning sign.
Exactly.
But then it tells him not to open the airlock.
Like he's very manic.
And he's being... Shut up. He's being told on the intercom.
Yeah, but
that
you
he
turned
should-
off.
Well, yeah, but
And then on the
she overrode
emergency
the-
one,
yeah.
yes.
Like, he's being told by everything and everyone,
Mm-hmm.
do not open that airlock.
Yep.
And he does it anyway.
He does it
Dude's
anyway.
a moron.
He's not smart. And it's the whole, like, his whole thing is he's the manifestation of survival instincts.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's also
Survival instincts do not always override intellect.
No, exactly. And he had so much time to think about it.
And, like, self-preservation, I feel like, is a part of...
Like
Survival instincts.
Exactly. Oh, let's go let out all the air in his face. Nothing could go wrong.
Yeah.
No.
So
totally.
we've spent a long time not getting to standout scenes or performances.
But everything is. The black hole is just absolutely gorgeous.
I'll take this one.
Please.
Black hole is gorgeous.
It's so pretty.
That's not a standout scene.
It's
That's a standout
multiple
image.
standout scenes.
That's an image.
Any scene with the black holes stand out.
I think the one that would probably come to most people's minds is the scene where they first get back from Miller's planet. Yeah, Miller's planet.
Mm-hmm.
And Coop is watching all of the video logs of his son growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and then his daughter coming to tell him, like, hey, this would be a good time to come back.
Yeah.
And, like, I have not given that scene credit enough
It's so
in the
well done.
past. Watching it this time, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is tugging on my heart.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Absolutely.
And I'm coming to this a little bit softer toward emotions than I have been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've talked about that at all on this podcast, but like there's a lot of movies that I've just like, because of where I was emotionally, I was able to basically watch things and be really impressed but not
Emotionally touched. Exactly.
Yeah, connect to them at all. And now coming to it probably a little bit healthier. Yeah, that breaks me a little bit.
It does. And there's a couple scenes like that as well. Like also when I don't know what his name is, but the first astronaut that dies also on Miller's planet.
That would be Miller.
No, the other one.
Oh,
Raul or something.
Raul? I wanted to say it was Roy.
It could be Roy as well.
I don't know.
But like the
guy who looks like he's played by Jake Gyllenhaal, but he's not.
Probably. the realization, like the amount of time they spend there, and the realization that like they're losing so much time.
Yeah.
Like they spend an agonizing amount of time talking in that spaceship and like mentioning the fact that they are losing so much time, which I really, really liked that portion.
It totally depends on my mood as to whether I feel the sort of that drain of time that's happening, or whether I just feel bored by the fact that they're sitting in the ship complaining about how much time they're losing for the fifth time.
Yep.
So yeah, that definitely changes watch to watch for me.
Makes sense. Also, though, that guy Roy had so much time to get into the ship.
Well, he was being pushed away by the water before it got okay.
He was at
Have
the
you
ship.
ever been in the ocean?
Yes, I have. And he had more than enough leg space to pull. Like the water was only up to like knee to calf. He had more than enough space.
But if you've got water rushing this way while it's up to your knee, that's enough force to have you stationary because you're trying to not fall.
That makes like sense as well, but like the amount of time that he spends looking back at the water and the amount of time that like he's already there before the robot with Anne Hathaway gets there is just so much time. He had so much time. So much.
I really don't think he had much time.
And then it just annoyed me really badly. He did not have self-preservation instincts. There was no panic in him. It's like, no, this is fine. And that's it.
I really think you're being a little harsh on the guy. I think he was stuck.
Also, one of the plot things that gets me is they choose to go to the planet that has the largest amount of time slippage first.
Well, it's because they were there first, and they were already running a little bit lower on fuel than they wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so if The problem was if they skipped the planet entirely.
Which they didn't have to do. Like, my understanding of gravity and astrophysics, which I have very little on comparatively to my understanding of just general space, is like you should have, as long as you're comfortable with sleeping for a little while, gone out to the farthest one away, checked it out, gravity shot back, slept for a little longer. The other 2 planets that are like next to Gargantua are next to Gargantua together. They're so close together that whenever you escape the gravity of Matt Damon's world, you're right into the gravitational pull of the black hole. They're so close. And whenever you went to that other one, you lost for sure 7 years. Guaranteed you lose 7 years.
Yeah, because you got to be down there for at least an hour.
And going down into the planet's atmosphere, coming back out, 7 years gone.
Yeah.
Like, if time is a resource, which is mentioned, that's an awful bet.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah, I guess my thought was they didn't get to pick where they came out of the wormhole.
Yep.
So they had the 3 planets
Mm-hmm.
and then the wormhole, right?
Yep.
You got the first one,
Mm-hmm.
and you can go to this one first.
Yep.
And then go to the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
Or I guess you could have gone 3, 2, 1 and then gone back into the wormhole, assuming 3 didn't pan out.
And again, the fun thing with space is you don't need that much fuel to get moving.
But they do talk about wanting to pass it.
They don't have a good reason for not passing it, except for the fact that the signal is fantastic.
Yeah.
Which also, they mentioned multiple times that it's 7 years on that planet.
Mm-hmm. It does. It had.
And then they just don't think about the practical effects of the fact that it's 7 years on that planet. How long has that person been there then?
Yeah.
2 hours. Sorry. Those are the only portions of it that get me from the science perspective.
Are the relativity on the planet and the
lack of good planning. They didn't have a good planner. They had a good executor. And they had multiple good scientists. They did not actually have a good project engineer or scrum master or manager that could actually execute any of the good plans from a functional perspective.
What you're saying is,
I need to go to space. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely, I could have avoided this. Get me into space.
NASA, hire this man,
please.
All right. I think that's enough standout scenes and performances.
So too. Matt Damon did a good job, I guess.
Yeah. He was believable.
His character
despite
was a little
his
over the top,
stupidity.
But the acting was great.
Yeah. Themes. I mean, we've already talked about a lot of these.
One of my favorite minor ones is relativity, because you'll get the different camera angles of one thing being stationary versus another thing being stationary, and mostly like a spinning station versus the Earth, or the Earth and that spinning station.
Yeah.
Just to point out minor relativity things.
Yeah, I do really appreciate that. I would say that's more of a motif than a theme, but
that makes sense to me.
Yeah, it's a good motif.
I won't argue this time.
Yeah. Again, a lot of the stuff here is about exploration and the human spirit and that kind of stuff, which I really appreciate. And then it gets into the love transcends space and time theme, which I don't really vibe with.
And again, they didn't also, I don't think they built it enough. They mention it a little bit in the second act.
I wonder how much of it is because it's only really talked about and we don't see it happen at all through the movie until it's sort of implied when they go to man's planet and find out, hey, this is just a dude that wants to get back to seeing people.
Yeah.
So it's sort of implied that Wolf, I don't remember if that's his first or last name, the guy Anne Hathaway is in love with.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That his planet was sustainable. That's what's implied.
I think Edward
Wolf? Or Wolf Edward?
I can't remember. I just remember an E name whenever she had the like monument at the end.
Edmonds.
Edmonds.
It was
there
Wolf
it is.
Edmonds.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but anyway, it's implied that his planet is sustainable by the fact that man's planet isn't.
Yes.
But like we don't actually see that.
No.
Until the very end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't actually see any evidence of love transcending space and time, with the exception of the Tesseract.
Yep.
Which is also supposed to be sort of the plot climax of the movie.
Yeah. I would have felt better if they had gone biology on that one. Like, hey, having a mother and father be on the two different sides of this is what gives them connection, and not necessarily like having such a large emphasis on love. Because there's like a cool technology aspect to that. Like, hey, I can go and make a connection between two people because they're related.
Oh. Yeah.
Could have been.
Could have been. But it wasn't. So yeah, I think that's really my issue with this movie, is I feel like the theming falls flat, and I feel like not all of the theming. The pioneering aspect of it, I think, is very well done.
So well.
But the themes of love fell flat in this one for me, on top of the fact that it's also how they pay off some of the plot devices.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Would agree.
I don't really want to talk more about themes, because
No.
I genuinely do enjoy this movie.
This is a really, really, really good movie, and
Yeah.
the spectacle is absolutely fantastic. Most of the story writing is fantastic.
Yeah.
Most of the themes are fantastic, and again, it's just the last 20, 30 minutes. They had to find some way to wrap it up. I would have almost felt fine with there just being loose ends.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if...
Send in the robot. He sends out some data.
Yeah. If they had done that, and then like just had his daughter arriving with the ship at Edmund's planet, like that could have actually that could have worked really well.
Absolutely.
As you know, we see
background on it, but
we see these two people that have butt heads through a good portion of the movie about things. Cooper finally is willing to let go of the possibility that he sees his family again.
Yeah.
But he still has saved them, right? And then his daughter comes, and he does get to see her again, but now...
From, like, a distance, not from... Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that could have worked much better.
That would be so good. There we are. We're perfect.
Yep.
And we're pros
So
at this.
let's... Christopher Nolan, if you're listening to this, which you absolutely are not, talk to us. We can help you reshoot the end of Interstellar if you have any problems with it.
Yeah, you know what's that take thing? Like, what's the Justice League? The
Snyder cut?
Yeah, we can do a Nolan cut of Interstellar.
We all know that Nolan gets the Nolan cut of every
any
movie he makes. There's no question about that. After he made The Dark Knight,
Let us convince you otherwise.
Walking around Hollywood with carte blanche.
Carte blanche?
A blank check.
Oh.
Are you not familiar with the term carte blanche?
No. I was thinking of like a blank cart.
Oh, no. No, that's a...
white cart you push around.
Nope. In 22 Jump Street? Yeah, 22 Jump Street. They make a joke about that. Where they talk about, we've got Cate Blanchett.
I love that, actually.
All right. Technical things that stand out. We've already talked about this.
I feel
probably
like
to death.
we've basically done a really, really good job on this one so far, I think. Again, if you haven't seen this yet, technical things are wonderful in this. That's why it's a 10.
Yep. And the Saving Matt Damon trilogy, we've begun.
Good.
Next week, we're watching Saving Private Ryan.
Perfect. I'm expecting a space thriller.
Which you've not seen.
Not a military
Yeah.
movie.
And then
If it's a military movie, I'll cry.
I'll check if The Martian is on the list still, because it was at one point.
Oh, I love The Martian.
But if it's on here, then we'll watch The Martian
At some point in 10 years.
I'd say after Interstellar, we'll complete or not Interstellar, after Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
We'll complete the
trilogy.
But only if it's still on the list.
Okay, sounds good.
So,
Have a deal.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
This is great. But we've talked for a while. So how do we end this?
Do you like space?
Yes!